I tested AI voice answering services against the competition, and in this video, I'm going to show you what I found out. We all know that every missed call could mean losing a new customer, losing that high ticket project, or even an opportunity to just grow your business. And maybe you've thought about hiring help, but oh my gosh, handing over those phones, it just seems so risky. I mean, what if it doesn't work out? What if it just costs too much? Or even worse, what if it ruins your reputation that you worked so hard to build? Well, in this video, we're going to go head to head against some of the top strategies or methods that you can use to get help with answering your phones. We're going to be comparing AI voice phone assistants versus traditional answering service versus hiring a full-time receptionist. We're going to be breaking down across 4 main areas that most business owners worry about: training, availability, call handling, and costs. By the end of this video, you'll have clarity to make sure that you can make the right decision for your business. So before we dive in, let's quickly define each option that we're talking about, so that way we make sure we're on the same page as we go through this video. So first, when I reference a AI voice assistant or AI answering services, this is essentially a human-like virtual system that's powered by artificial intelligence. It helps answer your calls. So think like ChatGPT or Claude running in the background. But it's going to help you not only answer calls, but helps manage basic customer inquiries, frequently asked questions. It can schedule appointments. And the really cool thing about it is it can run 24/7 for you if you like. You can use it as much or as little as you like. It's typically pre-programmed or trained with responses, and it can even integrate with some of your current business tools that you have. When I refer to a traditional answering service, this is a service where human answers will answer your phone calls, typically using the script or flow that you provide. Then they will relay the messages to you and handle basic inquiries. And often they service multiple businesses at one time. The last thing we're going to compare against is a full-time receptionist. This is an in-house employee, whether in office or virtual assistant, that's dedicated to answering your calls, managing customer questions, and assisting in tasks during your standard Monday through Friday business hours. They're going to be trained specifically for your business to provide that personal human interaction and human touch. So now that we're clear on the 3 different options that we're going to be comparing, let's dive into the first category: training and setup. We're going to be looking at how much time and effort and resources does it really take on your side of it to get things started and then to keep things running smoothly. This is kind of where you're going to start to see some similarities and some differences. So let's hop right in. First, let's talk about the AI assistant, right? Setting up a voice AI assistant is somewhat of a streamlined process when it comes to how much effort it takes on your part as a business owner. Typically, there's a planning phase. This is where you get with the agency or the service provider that's actually building out the virtual assistant. They're going to get an understanding of your business. You might fill out a questionnaire or have an onboarding call, and you're going to kind of just share some details about your services, some frequently asked questions, desired call flow preferences, and key priorities, like the things that are super important to you. They might even take your website as well, and we're going to gather that information, and essentially your service provider will create the training from that content and the information that they get from you. That's going to lay the foundation of your AI and how it handles the phone calls. Phase 2 is going to be the build out phase. Typically, this is where the system is configured. It's going to include creating and writing the scripts, integrating tools like Google Calendar, setting up the tech side on the back end, connecting to your CRMs. And then this is going to be like creating your AI's voice and tone and personality to match your brand. But by the end of this phase, the system really starts to take shape and it's really cool. Phase 3 is going to be your testing. Now, before going live, there's going to literally need to be hundreds of test runs to be conducted before launching. This phase will help identify any gaps or refine any responses to ensure that your virtual AI answering service or your AI assistant can actually handle the most common scenarios. Now, you'll also get a chance to review and make adjustments if you like. The last phase is going to be launch and optimization. So once you go live and the AI begins, there's going to still need to be a heavy amount of monitoring initially of those interactions just to test for accuracy and make any tweaks that are needed. So on a scale of 1 to 10, the 1 being 0, well, I guess 0 to 10, 0 being 0 effort on your part and 10 being a ton of effort on your part, I'd quote this as a level 2 when it comes to training an AI voice assistant. The only effort that you really need to do as a business owner is going to be to provide that information about your business. Like I said, usually through an onboarding call or a web form or using your website. But from that, usually the service provider or the person that's creating your AI assistant, they're going to be the ones that's actually creating the training for your AI voice assistant. Next, let's talk about training and setup for your traditional answering service. So with a traditional answering service, very much like the AI answering assistant, your service provider is going to take most of the burden of doing the training. What they usually do is they have established training systems where you can provide basic protocols and then they train their staff to follow those basic protocols. It'll be a little bit of effort up front, just like before, but typically they do it also via onboarding calls or web forms. Now, one of the things to consider is that you might have to deal with high turnover of staff with these answering services, which means that you might have times that you have to update the script or re-explain your processes repeatedly to get consistent results. Also remember that the agents also will often work for multiple businesses, so their familiarity with your specific services can end up being limited and can kind of lead to inconsistent call handling. For the traditional answering service, in regards to your efforts, I'll put this at a level 3 or a level 4. The reason why is because with this one, you might have to repeat yourself repeatedly on any changes that you need to make, versus with the AI, typically once you get it right, it's done. Next, let's talk about the training and setup for a full-time receptionist, right? So a full-time receptionist is going to involve the most time and effort up front, but it does offer some of its own personal unique advantages. So with a full-time receptionist, you have to train them directly so that way they learn your business inside and out, including the complex details and unique customer needs. Over time, they'll develop a deep understanding of your operations, and it'll allow them to provide great service for handling unique and challenging situations. And then they can even offer you valuable feedback on things that you can improve on. Now, some of the cons of this, though, is that it takes months to fully train a receptionist, and after they leave, you have to start the process over completely from scratch with a new person. You'll also need a backup plan in place in case your full-time assistant takes vacation, calls in sick, or what if they even leave your position entirely? So this upfront investment of time and energy can be a big commitment, especially if you're a smaller business. So on a scale of 0 to 10 for effort, I'm going to rate this a 9 to a 10, because training a full-time receptionist does demand significant time and energy, and you'll need to teach them not only about your business, but make sure that they are really good at customer service and very intentional with the steps and processes that they do. So now that we've kind of ranked all of these together, let's talk about the setup of the availability. How reliable is each option after they answer your calls when you're not available? With the AI voice assistant or AI answering services, you can use them literally if you want, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Totally up to you. Or you could use it in just after hours. There's lots of flexibility there. But pretty much your AI voice assistant is always on. You don't have to worry about sick days or vacation or any downtime. And on top of that, it can handle up to 10 calls at the same time, ensuring that 0 wait times for your customers. So that's one thing to actually consider, but there are a little bit of limitations. Usually, while availability is available 24/7, 365, the reality is the background of these are run on back-end systems that are up usually around 99% of the time. But while extremely rare, there are some times where like maintenance or technical disruptions can occur. So this is why most of service providers will have backup solutions in place, so that it'll minimize these issues and minimize your downtime. So now let's talk about the availability of traditional answering service. While most traditional answering services can be available 24/7, there are some caveats to it. Keep in mind, these are human agents, so one human agent can't possibly cover round-the-clock coverage for you. So what that means is that there might be a quality that varies between the different shifts, and during periods of peak time, there could end up being long hold times or long ring times. Lastly, we're talking about a full-time receptionist. So their availability is most likely going to be during standard business hours, 5 or 6 days a week. Full-time receptionists will be available during those operation hours, but they can only handle one call at a time, which that could end up affecting quality as well. There also have to be things in place to carry gaps in coverage, like during break, lunch, sick days, or vacations, unless you already have a backup plan in place. Up next is call handling and customer experience. This is where your first impressions are made and your customers decide whether they want to do business with you. So let's see how these three stack up. For the AI voice assistant or the AI answering services, you're going to have professional and consistent conversations, and 9 times out of 10, they're going to flow directly as the flow that you provided, and it's going to follow the script accurately, unless there's some kind of off-the-wall kind of scenario. The other cool thing is it can handle up to 10 or more calls at once. It can schedule your appointments or capture details without really the call sounding rushed. They're not trying to rush and hang up to answer the next phone call. Now, for the customer's experience, it's going to be efficient and reliable, right? Because most of the times when customers call, they're going to want immediate responses, no hold time, and clear communication. And the AI voice assistant can allow that to happen. If for any reason there are any complex issues that come up that your AI assistant is not trained on, it will be trained to take a note, take a message, and flag it to make sure that your team follows up. With a traditional answering service, it's a really cool balance because you do get that human interaction, but again, it's with limitations. So your agents will be able to provide that natural conversation flow, and it'll be able to adapt to unscripted situations. But remember, they might be juggling multiple calls for multiple businesses, so the level of the personalization is going to be limited. And it's also, again, it's going to vary between agents. And so for your customer experience, it could end up being hit or miss, right? Customers might feel rushed, or they might experience hold times or even long wait times before the call is even answered. It's crazy. I've seen that before. Messages might be incomplete, and they'll have lots of room for human error. Having a full-time receptionist the handling is going to be super personalized. A receptionist is going to be trained in your business. It'll handle all of your calls with a high level of detail and understanding. Of course, it's going to take a while to get to that point, but they can navigate the more complex situations and recognize repeat customers and build that bonding relationship, and even multitask beyond the actual answering the calls. And so from the customer experience, it's going to be high touch and professional, right? So they might appreciate that part of it. So in the category of call handling and customer experience, the AI assistant is definitely going to excel in efficiency and consistency. While the traditional answering service will give you human interaction, but it might lack a little bit of personalization. A full-time receptionist will provide the highest level of personalization, but when it comes to scalability and consistency, you might struggle a little bit there. Lastly, we're going to talk about the cost structure. So typically with the AI voice assistant or AI answering services, it really depends on the service provider, but most likely it might include an initial setup fee, monthly monitoring and maintenance fee, and potentially, possibly per message usage fees. So pricing can range from either, anywhere from $100 or a few $100s per month for like a small enterprise, all the way up to multiple thousands of dollars for enterprise level solutions. But the really cool thing is you kind of get what you're paying for here. Remember, the AI voice assistant, it's scalable and it's predictable. So you won't have to have that need for that extra employee or high turnover that you have to worry about with some of the other options. So the investment really will depend on the complexity of how much or how little you want your AI voice assistant to do. For traditional answering services, the pricing might be very similar to the AI voice assistant. A lot of call centers, the pricing will vary based on volume, the number of hours, or even the complexity of calls. You might also still have a setup fee and then monthly fees, or even some possible upcharges for after hours or holiday spending. So just be sure to check that out if you're looking to go that route of the traditional answering services. With the full-time receptionist, now you're dealing with the actual salary, potential benefits, and overhead if you have them in office, or even as a virtual assistant, you're still going to have a salary that you're going to have to end up paying. And depending on where you're at, it can be anywhere from, $5 an hour, or if you're in the U.S., you could be paying anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 on average for salaries, kind of just like depending on where you live. So here, what you're going to be paying for is you're going to be paying to get that personalized service and in-depth knowledge of someone with the in-depth knowledge of your business. So it's definitely going to be the most expensive option, but it provides a more dedicated presence to your customers, but it's going to be limited to normal business hours. So now that you have all this information, which option is best for you? So let's go ahead and recap. If you want minimal training effort and 24/7 availability with consistent call handling, the AI assistant or AI answering service is going to be the modern scalable solution, and it might be a good fit for you. But if you value having human interaction and the flexibility, but you want to kind of keep costs down on pricing, then traditional answering service might be for you. If you want a deeply personalized service and an in-depth business knowledge, go for the full-time receptionist. That's definitely going to be the way to go if you're ready to invest the time and money, and if you're okay with not having after-hours coverage. Choice is going to depend on your business's unique needs. And there's often times where some businesses will use multiple methods. They might use an answering service during the day and an AI during off hours, or vice versa. Same thing with having a full-time receptionist. But again, if you're looking to save time, be efficient, and have scalability, and you want to see if the AI voice assistant or AI answering service is a good fit for your business and worth exploring, comment below or reach out. We'll have a no-pressure chat. We learn about your business, and we'll see if it's a good fit. But anyway, that's it for this video. See you in the next one.